Phaedra has never minced about having multiple jobs, being successful. If she's doing something at a discount or, for free, let's say, it is for a good purpose, for a good reason. It's not because she's, like, I have so much money, I don't need any more. Hi.
Hi. So before we got on here, I was putting on some fake nails. Look at them. Look, they're little really strawberries. Cute. So friends, today we are talking about the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 17, reunion, part 3.
Do you think, because we're talking about the South, I think it's only right that we do acknowledge one thing.
Dolly
Parton, rest in peace.
I know.
Because I'm still not over. I'm so distraught. I literally have. When my friend told me at work, I almost had to. I was like, I'm about to start to cry. Yeah, Beyonce released a statement already. I have posted every Sally Field, Julia Roberts, Jane Fonda, which was my favorite. I was just such a mess. I'm like, she literally brought. Upset. She was in my. She's like the Pope in my head. It's like she changes. Yeah. She, we all say that oh, they changed the world. No, she literally was like. She could bring people that would never be in the same room together. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? She was just so there was no better human being that I think ever existed. So we love you, Dolly Parton. And I think someone said it in their post, and I really did feel that. I'm so glad they put it into words. They're like, this is actually a real proven guardian angel now to watch over us. And I'm like,
I know.
Dolly girl, this is in your hands now. Save us.
I know.
Love you, Dolly.
Please. Yeah, we love her imagination library. We got all the books. We gave one to my friend, a scholarship or a little membership. It's fantastic. Yeah. So.
It really is. I mean, it's just amazing
work. And how fitting with K. Michelle and her country single being out.
I know. I was looking. Maybe she's going to post something. She hasn't.
Oh, miss social media. Maybe you missed it.
Oh, no, I did. I looked.
So, how'd you feel about part 3 of the reunion?
I liked it. I mean, it wrapped up everything that we needed to know. I was like, okay, what loose ends? My mind has not changed on anybody. If anything, I think I feel validated in my opinions. I was listening to an interview, another podcast show. Guy, he's a former producer of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And he had someone that was a former housewife for one season, Claudia Jordan, when she was on. And she was kind of giving flack to Porsha for basically being stone cold when Shamea was talking about that. Saying, I would have, I get that y'all don't like each other, whatever, but even that you should be able to have more emotion. Or I didn't listen to the full clip because I was kind of getting slightly pissed off in my own view, and I was reading the comment section after that. But yes, Shamea she was asked about her journey with with her surrogate and stuff, and her surrogate unfortunately miscarried. It was very emotional. I can only imagine what that must feel like for someone who wants a child, is working towards making that happen, taking all the steps that one takes. I can only imagine that's devastating. But one thing I want to kind of normalize is, and I saw some things in the comments that help validate my first initial reaction, and that's sometimes when you're done, you're done. Mm-hmm. And I have been in that situation where a former friend of mine who might have gone through something where it's some sort of tragedy to them or heartbreak, whatever the case might be. They're going through something tough. And in my own private thoughts, I'm sending thoughts and prayers, hope they're taking care of their families, whatever the case might be, right? But I don't send anything. I don't acknowledge. I don't, I let them kind of live their life. And I think we need to normalize that. There are some things where it doesn't make you cold-hearted. It does not make you less of an empathetic person. Hell, we don't even know what they fully showed. She might have said something and they decided not to edit it out for whatever reason. Who knows, right? But I think there's something to be said for because she did not display something, more empathetic in terms of her facial expression, that she is somehow at fault I don't know. I saw some in the comments section that thought Porsha was cold-hearted, a bitch, and all this kind of stuff. I do not think that. I think when you go through such hurt with another individual, that there is a feeling that's similar to viewing someone as a stranger, that I don't know you. She made that when they were in Scotland. And they kind of showed a flashback in this reunion. She said something along the line of, she's like, what I see in her is the same look of people who look at me with hate in their eyes. I see that in her at that moment when they were fighting in Scotland about the moms and all that. With that being said, whether you want to agree with her or not, or pick a side, whatever, what people need to acknowledge as other human beings is she may as well look at that person and in her eyes and mind and heart is seeing a stranger. Like, that is not the girl I used to know, so therefore I'm fully disconnected. And maybe my empathy comes from something personal where it's like I'm sending my thoughts and prayers. I don't need to tell you or show that to anyone. I know where my heart is, and I know in my prayers at night, I make sure that her and her family are in them. I don't need to give them anything. And so that was something that I was thinking about after I saw that, because that never even occurred to me when she said that, when Shamea was sharing that, of like, oh my God, Porsha doesn't seem to, she's not acknowledging her or anything like that.
Well, because that's not the pivotal thing in what she said. What she said is we were trying to have a baby and we were unable to. Mm-hmm. That is the story. But
yeah,
Porsha is not an amateur. She knew that camera was going to be on her. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that she was so stone-faced speaks to her maturity in the entire situation, because she knew that camera was going to be on her for a reaction or eye roll or whatever. She knew it.
True.
And for all we know, she heard about this before and already sent flowers to Shamea. We don't know.
That's what I mean.
We don't
who knows?
know. Mm-hmm. And I do think, especially given that part one, we talked about Porsha asking K. Michelle if it was a miscarriage when she had her injury earlier. She knew anything to do with babies and all this. I'm not saying anything. She's been saying since Scotland, kids are off limits.
Yeah.
I was there for it. You know what I saw when I was watching it?
What?
Porsha established a boundary and she is enforcing it.
Yeah.
Mostly people do boundaries and then you keep waffling. Oh, well, she is enforcing it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
And you have to do that, a much broader conversation that I think a lot of people are with it, and a lot of people are catching up to it, and a lot of people just don't want to acknowledge it and, progress the aspect of what it is to have very clear emotional intelligence and what that might require sometimes. What you just said, I think, is so spot on. We need to acknowledge and enforce boundaries when we absolutely feel like we need to do that. If she feels, and talk about Porsha, that mentally, emotionally, I cannot do this, or what's over there, I cannot do that in all shapes and forms. I am not in the space to acknowledge someone's highs or their lows. The same way if a stranger's passing me on the street, I don't know what they're going through. It doesn't mean you're disrespectful. Like, hey, how's it going? How are you? I'll hold the door open for you for right behind me. I'll pass you the salt at the dinner table because we have to share. In order, especially when you have hurt. Mm-hmm. So if she's having this pain with her, which I'm like, are we not seeing that when they went to go talk about the relationship and she's glaring at Andy and he's like, okay, you're giving me like the death stare right now. I did too.
I'm curious why we're discussing something that happened last season. I was like, listen, I didn't watch the last reunion. I didn't watch the last season. And I am here for it because I was like, damn. Mm-hmm. But she said it respectfully, minus the glare. But I would have probably been pissed too. Like, we're still talking about this. How embarrassed are you ladies that your own stuff has not surpassed this story? We're still talking about this.
We're still talking about it.
I love that she did that.
I did too.
I loved it.
So the first time that I watched the reunion twice. And the first time when I saw that, I was in the side of, oh, well, Porsha, you're on Housewives. You have to talk about it. But then the second time watching it, based upon what he was asking in the package that's shown, it was more than just, they showed the flashback of like what I was like 2016 of Shamea, Phaedra. I think it was Phaedra's a holiday party. Mm-hmm. So the question wasn't coming out of the gate of like, okay, let's talk about Scotland and that horrible argument that you guys had. It was, you guys have been friends for so long. Let's start kind of from the beginning, so to speak, in a sense of like, let's kind of start back to basics. And I can understand, like, they already did that last year. Her response directed to what Andy Cohen was trying to ask, I then totally agreed with her. It's like, if we were going to talk about Scotland and that, then that's the question we should be coming out of the gate with. That is not how that was presented. So therefore, I agree with her. Like, why are we discussing our friendship again in this way when we already did all this? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was the first sign of maturity in terms of their relationship, that you saw hard boundary in terms of, you're not cold-hearted because you don't want to talk about certain things with a former friend of yours, or maybe someone that you look to as, this is a dramatic word, but enemy, you know, or someone that does not have your best interests at heart. You have to say those types of things in order to have to, if that's what helps you navigate this. Not everyone can handle certain conversations or want to navigate things, because that might trigger them to go back into another place that might make it even more messier and dirtier. Who knows? What we see from Porsha, and we saw it all season, is this more, we've talked about it, not even just more mature, but more enlightened, cognizant of how she wants to move throughout the world. That doesn't mean being any less petty and funny, shade, all that kind of stuff. And that also means I'm closed off of giving someone any more emotion out of my body. They're my thoughts and prayers, but I don't need to discuss and give them anything other than, I would have done the exact same thing probably if I was her.
Because it honestly fit in with Shamea getting up and giving Cynthia the hug, and then hugging or giving air kisses to everyone but Porsha. If she would have tried to give it to Porsha, and then Porsha would have looked at her like, bitch, are you serious? Then she would have been the villain. So, but this, I love that this is what you want to overanalyze, because what I want to overanalyze is, I think Shamea and Kelli should have switched seats. Why was Kelli second chair?
Because she's louder. I don't know. I agree, actually, though.
Because I was like, she definitely should have been. I do believe K. Michelle should have been first chair. I like that. But I really don't think that Kelli needed to be second chair. I think maybe that was like a tease for the audience, because then, we're actually going to show mostly Shamea. So,
I think, if anything, if I'm being completely honest with you, I do believe the other couch probably should have been K. Michelle, Shamea. I would probably argue, personally.
Pinky. And I was going to say Kelli.
I do too. I can understand why. I mean, because Kelli, unfortunately, was a big presence in the show. I don't mean that necessarily in a positive way, but she had all that drama with Porsha.
Was lying about Pinky.
Yeah. And this whole reunion, I find her not enjoyable to watch. I actually don't. And I think what was validating that in me was with her back and forth with Angela, and Angela was kind of mimicking her high-pitched, like, yelping bark of, like, when they were going back and forth, and her voice and Angela purposely was making her voice higher, because Kelly's is this other frequency that just literally hurts my ears. And it's not even good throwbacks back and forth from her. She takes no accountability. She blames the other couch for all the things. Her and Shamea. They did it again this reunion of, like, you know, that team over there, them over there, they're the dark cloud on that couch. And the other couch, they're like, what? We are not the dark cloud. Those two, in my view, are Debbie Downers of the whole season. I did not find their dynamic on the show at all enjoyable. I cannot point to a single point on the show where I didn't feel annoyed by them. And maybe the good moments, unfortunately, were undershadowed by my just annoyance of how they're maneuvering throughout the show. I just did not find their dynamic at all interesting. Kelli was so she was so annoying, and she said something at one point. I think when she was arguing with Angela. She did something that annoys the fuck out of me that people do in life, not even just on reality TV, but like if you're having an argument with someone and they know they're kind of losing, and what they have to do is they have to laugh like, oh my God, you're so bothered. You're just so bothered. It's like, bitch, the people that need to say that are the ones that are the most bothered because you are yelping, you're on higher frequencies arguing with these ladies. That whole couch the whole time, even when they were arguing, were laughing and having a good time with one another. Your couch is fractured and kind of off, even though like Pinky is like your guys' friend. I didn't see her swooping in a whole lot either to be like buck up and defend you. The only time she kind of did, and I kind of read in between the lines, and I could be like overanalyzing that too. It's when Kelli was, in fact, degrading Phaedra's work as being her attorney. And Phaedra said something along the lines to Kelli of like, well, you're friends with Pinky, who is a restaurateur, and she hasn't given you any advice. And all they said was, no, we've talked. I was like, okay, but what kind of help did she offer you? You just saying that you had conversations. I didn't see too much from Pinky that's like really going to bat too much for those girls. When you saw that other couch, they were all like ride or die for each other. So,
and that's probably why they're so close and why they're the fun couch.
The fun couch. And poor K. Michelle, because I feel like I could be wrong here too, but I don't think I am. I feel like she was like, I want to be on that couch actually. I don't know if I like being on this one. Because
I hope
even
she's
though
thinking that to herself, like even at home.
I think so
like,
too.
How do I get over to that couch? Because I think the show is fun, and I think it can be fun. And I like how Porsha said, like, oh yeah, this is the right mix-up. This is a good group here. I
agree.
really like this.
I do agree in general.
Shamea, if you really think that couch is the dark cloud, don't come back next season. Don't come back next season.
All they do, and Shamea and Kelli in particular, all they do is they shift the blame onto everyone but themselves and go, you know what? Maybe I was a fucking bitch because I felt such and such a way. I can live with that. I can live with it. If you're going to put blame on other people or like maybe they triggered you, whatever the case might be. I know, touchy word these days. At least have the audacity to say, you know, I did act this kind of way and here's why. Because I felt this type of way about what she said, what they said. I was feeling a type of way, which made me amp up my attacks right back at you. I could live with something like that. But you're just shifting it all. It's them, this, that, they say this, that. I just found it so incredibly annoying and so unenjoyable. People who cannot take accountability for their own actions. Without, and I think it was like Angela that said it, without the buts. Like, I don't hear but, no, it's, here's what I did and this is why I acted this way. Not like, I'm sorry or I acted this way, but it was because blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. Take accountability for yourself and then move it along.
Yeah. This episode was interesting. They covered a lot. The first 2 episodes were probably 30% of the show, and then this was like the rest of the 70% of the season because I was exhausted watching it. I was like, oh my gosh. I got to this part and I was like, I miss Angela. We have barely talked to her. They hit on a lot of the Angela stuff in this episode, which was really good. Phaedra, I wanted to hear more, but she's in the 4th spot, technically 5th once Cynthia got there. So that kind of made sense that she wasn't in the mix too much. I really was proud of Porsha. That was what I wanted to overanalyze. Her and Andy, and then Shamea not being the second chair, because I really think that she could have been second chair. I think this show I still think it's fascinating because I'm listening to Kelli and she's like, I came into this season in the worst part of my life. We ain't seen none of that. Girl, the editors did you dirty. And I'm like, girl, we saw you open a restaurant. We saw them eat chicken. We saw you go shopping with Angela and talk shit. And then we saw you complaining in Dallas. The rest of it, you were literally the golden retriever lapdog. And I don't like when people say that for friends. You know, when people say the black cat golden retriever. That's not, I don't like that. I don't think it's fair. But the edits were not kind to you, ma'am, because if they have hundreds of hours of your life, they did not show it to us. And they didn't even show it to us in the reunion. So, you know, with her being her, she's going to have a bias on it. But ma'am, you weren't there. Ask Claude or Chat, what percentage was I in the season? You weren't. You had little asides here and there. You weren't.
How did you... Okay, a couple things. I agree with all that, too. Phaedra and Kelli, since you are the resident attorney here, I want to know what your thoughts were on that whole thing about her. Like, she's like, Kelli, you know, they're asking about, like, oh, how did basically this relationship in terms of Phaedra helping you out start? And she says that Phaedra reached out to her to help her out. And she paid her team $10,000, and then Phaedra said, "Oh, there was like 60,000 hours worth of billable hours," and she tried to discredit that. She's like, "Well, okay," and you kind of heard Porsha say, like, she basically gave you like a discount, and Kelly's like, "I didn't get it. I didn't say discount. Like, no, we did. Like, you definitely got a discount." And then she tried to, push it off of like, well, you didn't have to, there was not much work you had to do. And Phaedra was like, yeah, there was. And she said that her previous attorney that she paid like I think it was like 250,000 or whatever she said it was, did a lot of the heavy lifting. And Phaedra was like, we didn't use any of that. Did you feel that too? Like, did you feel like she was trying to undermine her, like Phaedra's role in trying to help her out?
I do, 100%. And the unfortunate thing is, when you work in a profession like being a lawyer and running a law firm, yes, there is a lot of filing paperwork, a lot of listening, a lot of that kind of stuff. But we also wear the counselor at law hat, where that is the listening to the stories, that is going through. You paid this other person $250,000. We have to go through that to see what is usable. Just because they didn't use it doesn't mean they did not have to go through it to see what mattered, what didn't matter. Also, Kelli, sweetie, if you liked the last attorney, you would not have gotten Phaedra.
That's what I thought too. Like,
so there's something there. And then, believe me, we can be friends or you can be a client. The two do not have to be the same. So for me to see you and say you are having problems, I can help you, that does not mean that we are good Judys by any means. So I think that just has to do with editing, but I'm pretty sure when Kelli rewatched the show, she watched it like, look, there I am, there I am, there I am. Yeah, but again, we didn't get the breadth of it. Especially with this being my first season with her. I could not tell you your husband's name, where he is, how many kids you have, nothing. I can only tell you what the dog looks like because I used to find pictures of it for the beginning episodes.
That's true.
You were not here. You were not here. I couldn't tell you what was happening. And so I thought it was really unfair. There are things that Phaedra, well, any attorney, any lawyer would be able to get done based on their relationships, based on networking, based on who they know in a courthouse, that you just can't put a price tag on because you don't know what relationships got those things done that Phaedra has been cultivating.
So true.
If we remember back to part 2, she's been sitting with congresswomen in Texas. Phaedra has a very wide network.
Who's also a lawyer. Jasmine Crockett is also a lawyer.
So it's like attorney, no ma'am. So she was absolutely trying to discredit her. And trust me, Phaedra likes to get paid. There is a reason she gave you a discount. You probably came in there boo-hoo crying about... Yeah.
That's like also a very good point. Phaedra has never minced about having multiple jobs, being successful. If she's doing something at a discount or, for free, let's say, it is for a good purpose, for a good reason. It's not because she's, like, I have so much money, I don't need any more. And let's not forget,
right,
to all of the point, there's a team of people. There was more than one person in that room when she came to visit her that one day at her office, Kelli. So they need to be paid as well. So I have to imagine, I don't know how the logistics work behind the scenes. It's like, for all maybe that 10 grand didn't even go to Phaedra at all. Maybe it was like, okay, well, I'll take the hit, but I need to make sure that all these other people that have their head in the bucket helping, they have to get something. So maybe Phaedra didn't get anything at all.
And that's a really good point. We won't go into it too deep, but like, people hire the name of the law firm and they want to work with you directly. And that's not how it works. Like, it's a paralegal that's going to review this. It's a junior attorney. It's all these. They might come to her with the big stuff, or Phaedra might be the one that goes to court. But I'm sure the majority of that did not actually go to her. It's hers in name, but there's levels to it. It's not like she's just sitting on her couch reviewing your paperwork herself.
Sure, yeah. the name of it.
So. No, for real. Because that's what people think. Anybody can do that. Look at all the lawyers. Yeah.
True. No, but that makes sense to me. Well, I was just thinking of someone like, this is an example that since I don't know the logistics of all that kind of stuff, I think of like, say you hire a personal assistant, right? And like, okay, I need you to organize like my closet. Say it's half done because the previous personal assistant did half the work, right? But maybe it's like, okay, well, I had to go back and do this, this, and this, and match the shoes back up and relabel everything and blah blah blah. And you want to come back and to me and say when you have the finished product and be like, oh, you did really good, even though it was halfway done already. It's like you didn't even see half the, which brings up the other thing of like, lady, you are not in the office. You are not the lawyer, not whatever. You don't know what, to your point of like the other people doing other parts of the job. You're not seeing the full machine of like what's done. The only part that you need to see is the finished product of like, okay, we have all the things we need from you. We're going to do our due diligence and do our part. And then we'll reconvene when we have all the information. You're not there every step of the way to see the work going into something. And I think you can apply that into a lot of job sectors of this, like, people automatically assume because of multiple reasons about how something works or lack of or whatever. There's a lot that we don't see on some ends, a lot of ends and things that you can't just assume of like, okay, well, this person did that, or I don't know, I had these other people come in and do something. Like, you can't just assume of like, how the machine works when you've never built it.
And lawyers are very
different. You just see the machine. So just because you don't know all the moving parts within it.
Doesn't mean that Phaedra has to be the same, work the same, act the same. None of it. So, but people want to do that. That's why if you tell someone I'm a lawyer, you tell someone I'm an executive assistant, they think of the lawyer they know, the executive assistant they know. And it's like, and she's probably like, oh, wow, you're Phaedra, who I know from the show. Remember, Kelli is a fan of the show. That's part of why she doesn't do so well on the show, because she's a fan of it. And so for all we know, she was like, yes, Phaedra, oh my gosh. She knows what she brings just in name alone. So Kelli's whack. Freaking fracker rack. No, Kelli's whack.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on another thing to overanalyze? Because I always go, I think things a little even deeper. So when they were talking about the room situation, so Cynthia, Kelli, and Shamea, that really bothered me when that first happened. And I was just like, you guys are being so incredibly ungrateful and drama queens I love a drama queen on Housewives, do not get me wrong. I never found their antics and bullshit to be entertaining. I found it to be so distasteful. So we get into them talking about it, which I'm glad that they did. Their explanation continued to me to fall flat. Cynthia, who, I think it was really funny when they're talking back and forth and Shamea's trying to explain and Cynthia's trying to like rebuttal, and she's like, well, I'm not finished. She's like, well, can you hurry up? Because I like to make my point. All that back and forth was really funny. I loved Cynthia's point of like, okay, so, and Andy asked the question too of like, okay, so what was preventing you basically from going to dinner? And Cynthia made a really valid point, a couple of them, saying, well, first of all, we all walked the house. No one said anything was the reaction that you had, nobody had, including them. And then when there was an issue, she acted quickly. So the question then still remained, which is the part that bothered me the most, and they did themselves no favors in their explanation, which still didn't make sense, was, okay, why did you not go to dinner? And they kept saying, well, we had nowhere to get ready. And like, okay. They're like, well, you still, and not only could they not, was there no one to get ready, but like, we didn't want to be, we were still in our airport clothes, I think is what they said. And they're like, well, you were still, and they're like, well, and we're going to be on camera. Like, well, you were on camera. You were at the pool in those clothes on camera. And they're like, well, you guys all look so beautiful. And I'm just like, am I in a fucking Twilight Zone?
And bathrooms.
Because you're at a fucking mansion with many bedrooms and bathrooms. You're telling me, so if I'll put it this way. If I'm on a trip, there's no way I don't even know how I would get into a situation where I'm with a group of people and we're renting a mansion. So I'll be modest in here. I go on a trip with some friends. We get a beachside house that has like 3 bedrooms in it and maybe 2 bathrooms, whatever. or maybe each bedroom has a bathroom. We'll make it simple. And I can't use my room because it's dirty. I don't wait to be asked. If I know that we're all going out to dinner, it is no question in my mind. It is human nature and instinct to simply do this. Yeah. That's me knocking on the door. Hey, do you mind if I get, after you're done taking can you mind I go in your just use your bathroom? Because clearly mine's fucking dirty. And I just want to take a shower. I got my clothes. I get changed in there. Is that all good? Guess what? Problem solved. I'm beautiful again. They're doubling down of as if because their room was dirty, they had to be in quarantine, then go to dinner, baffles me and makes me so concerned about humanity. Of like, bitch, no you didn't. You just did not. You were in a stank ass mood because you think because you have so much money and you live in a palace and I'm talking about Shamea, because Kelli, we don't even know where you live. You clearly don't have your own home or whatever your situation is. But you think that you've reached a level of like, you can only get dressed in palaces, I guess. Then, God forbid, using your friend's fucking room to get changed in and use the bathroom. Like, I'm so, like, baffled by that. Yeah. If anything, I'm still not over that from the beginning of the season when they went to Dallas. Go to someone's fucking room and change. What are you talking about?
They know better.
This is stupid. You're in a beautiful house. Change in someone's fucking bathroom. I don't get it.
Say go to a friend's room. There were probably rooms that weren't used. There were guest rooms. I know there were bathrooms. And even if they were raised rich, you got multiple layers there. Think about the richest. Think about Lady Gaga goes somewhere and the room is terrible. Beyonce goes somewhere. I'm getting a hotel. I'll come back for dinner. I'm going shopping. DoorDash, bring me a blanket. If it was really terrible, there are so many other things you can do than sit at a pool and bitch and wait for all the attention to come to you because you're sitting at the pool bitching. There are so many other things that could have been done, right? And so there's no way. There's no way.
And it's just like, I have gotten changed in cars, alleyways, doorways where someone had to cover. I had dirty bathrums, gas station bathrooms, truck stop bathrooms.
Like in a cup.
I have done many different things. I peed my pants in cars. Figure that one out. Of like I changed.
And y'all feel so
other people there
to go to dinner.
Yeah. It's just rich audacity. Right. If because here's the thing. Let's be very clear in the argument. Were they on a commercial
flight?
Because they were in their airport. I don't even think they were on a
commercial flight to Dallas.
Let's be fair here too. They didn't fly from like London to Dallas.
Probably
Atlanta,
2 hours max.
Georgia's like 2-ish states away or whatever. That is not like a transatlantic flight. Right. Like, give me a break. It's not like your preferences are your preferences. Airport, dirt. Okay, totally get it. And to your point, if there was a stain on the bedding, I would be creeped out.
Yeah.
Not so much where I'd be like, oh, I can't change my clothes. I'd be like, just we get new bedding. Problem solved.
I forgot about. We talked about that.
Oh God, it made me so angry.
They harped on it, and Shamea did own it a little bit, and she was like watching it back. It was bad, and she's like, I didn't realize how upset Cynthia was either because they just harped and harped. I would honestly say that in Scotland are almost tied because they just kept going, and you just were like, how is this still happening? We're still talking about that.
It's true. Well, Shamea is quite. Here's the thing, because I think it was right after that conversation is when Andy pulls out the housewife question. Right, like Shamea from wherever. I can't remember her full name, but Shamea's question was to Cynthia, which was, "When did you decide that you didn't like me?" And I'm like, "Lady, that's what you got from all this." So the segment was, and I know that I don't know how that process worked. In terms of when they submitted questions and like, did they tell them like when that question's gonna be prompted at what part of the reunion? But this one happened to come after that conversation, and it's like, you think because of something within that because because Cynthia was rightfully so irritated with you and Kelly. That's when she decided that she didn't like you, which she gracefully said, I never decided I didn't like you because I do like you, which is that Cynthia continues to always be a class act. And I think it was declassy. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm going to use it. To ask such an immature question like that. Like that. So the producers, whatever at Bravo said, we're going to do something fun. You get to ask a question at the reunion. And the question you come up with for Cynthia is, when you decide not to like me, like, are you 5? You know what I mean? But it's showing. Her emotional immaturity and Kelly's shined so bright in this reunion. So, they deserve to sit next to each other because they're the only ones that really had each other's back solidly throughout the reunion. Like, oh no, girl, you're a fashionista. It's like, you all are actually so bothered that you're not on the cool couch. I'm just going to say, I'm going to be immature too. You want to be with the cool girls. You know that you look probably like Debbie Downers this whole season. But you know what? Just like a lot of different things that we see these days, instead of owning things and turning it around, people think that they're bad behavior because they're in it. They go, oh, well, I have to own it now, so I might as well sail through this, horrible choppy river. Instead of, you could paddle to the side and get off. And you actually look a lot better than just doubling down on it. People think somehow if you're painted in a certain light or whatever, you're coming across a certain way, or that you're in it, that now we have permission to stay in it simply because we have to be committed. I appreciate the loyalty aspect, I suppose, of sticking with something.
Yeah,
you're sticking with the wrong thing,
because
ladies.
She's literally
admit it and get off the fucking boat.
That with Porsha, and the fact that you guys
know
are
better.
not staying
We've
close
seen better
because you've been close since high school. High school is a beautiful time. Everything that's come after that can be wonderful in its own. You don't owe anybody anything for being around for all of this time. There are certain words that you can say that I will never forgive you for. You have crossed multiple lines.
Yeah. Not alone, at
nothing
least.
To do with you, with all of it. And so Shamea should definitely know that because you're literally going through it.
Yeah.
I like how Porsha acknowledged, I see the hurt in your eyes. I saw it the whole season. I kept saying it. I was like, oh my gosh, look at, she is like, it was so well said, but it was, Shamea said she had to grieve the relationship. And as you know, when you lose a person, whether it's from death or just the relationship ends or friendship ends, grieving does not play fair. You're hurt today, you're okay for 2 days, then you're out, and then a month later, I'm a firm believer. Someone can tell you their parent passed 30 years ago. I'm sorry for your loss. Because that shit will hit you at any time. So there are probably times when Shamea feels okay, probably times when Porsha is okay, and then there's times when she's not. And that is going to be hard. But that doesn't mean you change your whole personality because you're grieving, Shamea, or at least acknowledge that you are, because we can see it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think tenure and longevity are very important factors in things. Only when though, the relation, whether it's, if we're talking about a friendship, my friendship can't withstand on time alone, meaning, well, I've been friends with you for 15, 20 years. That can only work when the two people at least are being mature throughout that process.
My kid.
When you want to say things about my mama and all this kind of stuff, I don't care how long my kid, all the things that what you're trying to insinuate. I hate when people do shit like that, when they're insinuating things and then say that they're not. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. What do you think these things are? Whether it's an insinuation, a microaggression, whatever the case might be, we know how to say things in a way where it's not blatantly obvious, but we can hide under the fact that you just didn't say something verbatim in a certain way, but how you wanted it to land. That is Shamea, at least in my opinion, watching the show the past couple of years, well, this season and last season. She does that, does just that, which is why, listen, if you didn't feel like you did anything wrong to anybody or to whatever, you wouldn't have to have done that awkward YouTube video apology stuff, which that within itself is like very odd. Like I would never choose to accept that. So like you clearly know enough that you're in the red, girl. I'll put it that way. I'm not gonna say you're totally wrong or you don't. I acknowledge your feelings, all that kind of stuff. You're in the negative. You're in the red. And the only way to get out of that is to fully acknowledge them without the buts, the ands, the ifs, and to figure out how do we move forward without also bringing up all this other stuff. I don't know if that's possible. I think Phaedra, at the very end, when she said that some relationships are fractured to the point of no return, I kind of, at least with me, I don't often say this. I don't even know where those two ladies go further in terms of, you always hope that people can find their way back to each other to some sort of friendship. I'm like, no offense. This is where the boundary part comes in. I think this is what Porsha's trying to do. It's no disrespect. There is the whole mother comment, all that stuff. I think that pushed it way over a line that I'm like, I could never even look at you the same exact way.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm looking at you as a whole different person, which means they probably can learn how to coexist and whatever. But I'm like, that is a fracture that you can't fix that. That's a whole. Their issues went into a whole
the great unknown,
another part of the ocean that they'll never be rescued.
But even simplify it further.
You know what I mean? Like I don't even know how you do
keep
that.
Going. What's your story? Rum bum is over. Your husband barely wants to record, and you're raising 2 kids. I've heard you talk about working for the Hawks. I've heard you talking about NFL players. What's the job? What are you doing? Are you gonna write a book? Like what?
I know. I'm like, where is all this coming from?
Yeah. The story, because Porsha has already told
female
us,
empowerment stuff. I'm like, what is this? Like,
where are you now and where are you now? So what even keeps her here? Like, girl, where's the? Where is it?
Yeah, that's a valid. Well, what did she? The whole season, when you really think about it, from her point of view, not Porsha's. Porsha had plenty of stuff going on. And I'm talking about the compelling stories. Okay, your journey to have another baby.
Acting.
Yes, that is interesting. We want to see that.
But that was a small part.
That's one. Yeah. The acting could be one, but you don't. That's a small part, but you can't do kissing scenes or stuff. So, like, I don't know what else that I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing, but I'm just saying, your second little thing that could be interesting to see you go through is already limited as is because you have to listen to your husband, apparently. Yeah. But maybe that is I mean, well, I think her credits at the end of the season said that she starting a perfume line. I'm like, okay.
It feels kind of like
okay. That's so random.
Hanging out with Kandi Burruss outside of here, she's just trying to be like, damn, I want to do that, but I'll tell you this: Kandi makes it look easy, and it's not easy. And there is a common thread in everything Kandi does. Shamea does not have that. Like, Kandi is the one that was always talking about sex, and then she had a sex toy line. It all made sense. Yeah. Makes sense. Kandi already is a singer, but she's a songwriter. Ed Sheeran sings her songs or songs that she's written. It makes sense that she gets into theater. It makes sense that her daughter. It all makes sense. And Shamea, you are throwing spaghetti at a wall.
All of it's made sense. Yeah.
And we're watching you like you had rum once.
I was just going to say
and now you're giving up because this guy who ran the company doesn't want to sell. And that's just it. Okay, so now what? There needs to be more. What more is there?
I'm not a business mogul, anything, blah, blah, blah. You made such a good point that not only, because it's exactly what I felt, because to your point, like, okay, the whole rum thing didn't work out. That tells me you had no passion for it, because if it was me, if I'm releasing a line of t-shirts, I'm trying to make it very simple. Say if I want to have a t-shirt line, say I wanted this kind of a t-shirt, and for some reason, okay, now it's no longer available. It's like, okay, what's my next option? Okay, well, I can't do it. Like, I can't use this vendor, so let me like figure out how I can go. Okay, here's my product. I like you apply. Isn't that how business works? Like, you don't just like a good business that you actually care about. Kandi didn't go, okay, I'm gonna open restaurants and say her first location, whatever, the original. if it didn't do well, she,
Right.
no, I'll give it to her. She's still trying. It's not like she's like giving. After that restaurant closed, she didn't go, okay, well, I clearly can't do this anymore. It was like, okay, well, pause. I'm sorry, Pinky is a perfect example of this. She literally built the business, lost it, and then bought it back and is dealing with it. And we've seen it as annoying as it was sometimes hearing the word bankruptcy. What I can appreciate is it's a product that she's so passionate about because it's from her. She built it because she has passion for it and wasn't willing to just let it go and die off and go, okay, well, Slutty Vegan's gone. I'll just do, floozy vegan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just trying to think of, so clear, like, I can't stand housewives businesses like this. We should do a whole episode about all the businesses that no longer even exist anymore. I love Angela, but I kind of worry about that with the fans. I know it's kind of her thing, but it's kind of like I don't really see the full. I'm not saying no, because she's still committed to it, as we're seeing here. That's another example. Something wasn't working out, the hair got caught in, she didn't go, well, I can't do it anymore. You stick with something, like, rum didn't work, I guess I'll make perfume. What? Like, that's what tells me that someone does not have enough substance going on. Show. What else did she talk about this whole season? Besides Porsha, what else did she talk about? Yeah, fucking Falcons players. But to your point, you also made a really good point, too, of, like, she revealed in the reunion the female empowerment. Like, that's how she met this George. Me and my friend or whatever do, like, female empowerment or whatever. I don't know if it's talks or whatever. And then she did work with the different NFL teams or whatever.
Boring, and they didn't.
Why was that not talked about? I'm like, you do that? Like, what does that even mean? What is it? Without listen, Portia's not. That boundary is up, girl. You are not going to be able to hang on to that anymore. So I really, going into next season, if you're coming back, which it sounds like she is, I don't know where she goes from here. I really don't. I'm like, is your beef with K. Michelle going to come surface back up? And, like, is that going to get more intensified? Like, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, her and Kelly's performance, their report card has a big fat F.
I definitely think
at the end of this for me. Sorry.
Let's let the producers choose the first chair, and then let us vote on the other chairs, because we'll tell you based off what we've watched who we think. And I think K. Michelle, Shamea, Pinky, Kelly on the couch. Yeah. So, all right, you guys, this was good.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, I look forward to next season.
Atlanta's done.
I look forward to next season. I really do. But Atlanta's done. Atlanta's done. We love you, Atlanta. We love Atlanta. We look forward to season 18. Bring back Nene. I'm still going to manifest that. Bye.